Hamilton County football. This is a little bit different this week because we're not having the coaches show, but with the big game coming up of Noblesville and Westfield, I wanted to get with Coach Gilbert, and later on I'll get with Coach Simmons, and we'll talk Westfield Noblesville football, which that game is here this week.
Yes, sir.
But let's talk a little bit about your game with Zionsville. You're now setting 3-0, a very good ball game. Take us through some of the things that you thought that you did very, very well and was probably the difference maker in the ball
Sure.
game.
Well, first off, I think we got the run game going. So Nate Fralick carried the ball like 38, 39 times. We did a great job up front. So I thought we were able to run the football. We were very good on first down, and that helped us be manageable. And I think that helped our passing game be so effective. I thought Cam Nance was really good at throwing the football, running the team. We didn't pass that much. I think he was 10 for 13, but very efficient. Ran for a touchdown, threw a couple touchdowns. So I thought we had great quarterback play. So I felt good about our offense. We scored 28 points, but we also missed a couple field goals. So we had another opportunity or two to score points that we didn't. But I thought that was more on our special teams than our offense. So I was happy to see our offense kind of get going, especially in the run game, a little better than what we had the previous couple weeks. So that was pretty good. Defensively, I thought our secondary covered well. Now, we struggled in coverage at linebacker, and so we gave up overall pretty good passing game, but we felt like certain guys covered really well, just not the total team per se. So I felt good about our secondary play. We just have to get a little bit more depth and do a little bit better job overall as a team defense.
But Zionsville's got a good quarterback and
Yeah,
good receivers, so you know that's a good program. And you knew that going in.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about that, and we kind of touched on a little bit in the show before, because I was noticing that Fralick, you know, he wasn't getting the big numbers that he
Sure.
had in the past, but he was such a decoy that, you know, people were really concentrating on where he is on the football field, which is what you should really do.
When we give him 39 carries.
Yeah, but you just I mean, in watching that video, I mean, and you look at the numbers play by play, you know, it's 4 yards, 5 yards,
Yeah.
3 yards. I mean, he's a load to take down.
He is. He wears you out.
Yeah, and I think Cameron Nance is getting better and better every game. And you said early on that he's a great athlete,
Yeah.
but I think he's handling himself well on the football field, and you know he had 69 yards. So
Very excited about Cam. He's doing a terrific job, taking care of the football, making pretty good decisions. It's not been perfect, but it's been really, really good, especially for kids' first year as a varsity starter.
yeah, because he was averaging and completing about 63% of his passes. In this game, he was 77% with no interceptions. So. You know, that's a big key in a football game. Well, you know, that defense, you know, you touched on a little bit about the secondary on coverage and that, and the linebackers, but, you know, typical, it's Kobe Hauser and Caldwell. They both had, I mean, you look at the stats, okay?
Right.
It's exactly what they do every game. You know, Kobe gets 10 tackles, he has 30 for the year, so. You know, and Caldwell's has 27 and he got 9. So, so those two guys really. But who else stood out in that game for you? Because everyone knows when, you know, and the one thing about with this game coming up this week and with Zionsville, the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, there's no secrets. So you know, who had some of the big games on defense? You thought?
I thought Dorian Henson played really well. He's our starting corner. But we made some adjustments this week to move him inside in like a nickel format where he had to cover slot receivers. Zionsville had a big, tall, tight end slot type of kid who was 6'3", 230, and he was hard to handle. And so we kind of got to a point where we had to just put a bigger kid on him. And I thought Dorian handled that really, really well and played great. He was involved in about 7 or 8 tackles. And then our other corner, Seth Tackett, we kept him out on the perimeter, and we thought he defended things pretty well too. I thought he had a good game. Both those guys played every play. We were out there a lot of plays. They played every play. They played hard every play. They challenged every pass their way. They got in on some tackles. So we felt really good about those two corners.
That's good, that's good. Coach, you know, you're going in this game this coming week. You're at home, okay? You're playing Noblesville. Noblesville's 0-3, and I know you watched the video. I mean, their defense their offense is sputtering bad, and they have some issues in defense, but it's still a big game. It's still a Hoosier Crossroad Conference, and it's you and Jason Simmons are very good friends and talk and everything. So you know this is not going to be an easy football game. So let's talk about a little bit of this week's game coming up.
Well, they've played 3 teams tougher than the 3 teams we play. So who's to say the record wouldn't be the same if we switch schedules? So I'm proud of our team and the development we've had. But that's kind of where my focus ends. So I'm not caught up into their record per se. I mean, they've played 3 great teams. So 0-3 to me just means they've played 3 better teams. But I would say that I don't think they're struggling defensively. I feel like maybe they're getting a little bit worn out because they're out there a lot. But
yeah, they play a lot of minutes. Yeah,
their defense. Carmel had 6 yards rushing at the half. So if you can hold Carmel to -1 in the first quarter and 6 yards for the half, that's pretty impressive. So I think their defensive box is the best we'll see all year. So that obviously has me worried. I think they've got 2 great inside linebackers, and their D-line is really good.
Yeah.
So and Adam Metzger does a great job coaching.
Yeah,
so
he keeps it mixed up.
Yeah. So we nothing but respect for that D, and they are struggling offensively a little bit. I know they've got some good players, so they're all. They may be facing an easier opponent than us than what they've seen. So that's yet to be determined. Can our defense step up to that level of the defenses they've already seen and hold those guys down? We'll find out.
Coach, one question I wanted to ask you, because I enjoy talking to high school football coaches, and especially here in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference in Hamilton County, because you're so familiar with what each of the coaches do. I mean, what Scott May throws at you at Southeastern, what Jason will probably throw at you this week, or Rick Wimmer. These are all great football coaches.
Right.
So, how do you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. How is that, how do you interpret that to the players and the team of how important this game is coming up, or every week is? So there's.
Well, I mean, I think you just have to grind into them that we are really focused on the process. I mean, you want to have a telescope, big picture vision of what you can become at the end of the year, sure. However, to get there, you've got to have a microscope vision of what are we doing today? I mean, kids, in one respect, they're just worried about, like, what are we having for lunch today? And so if you can kind of just keep the focus on today, improve today, the process of what's going on today, they actually can do that a little bit better than what people give them credit for, because realistically, I think they struggle more with seeing the big picture of things and how today affects the big picture. So if you just really coach hard on the details of today, I think you can get the results that you want.
Because it's the one thing in watching your game at Lucas Oil and Coach Scheib doing the broadcast on that, he talked about early on how difficult it is being a high school coach, because every year when school starts, you have a different football team, and you have different personalities. Sure. And it's totally different. I mean, on the college level, it's a little bit different sometimes, because you have players coming back, and you know what to expect. But high school, especially in your situation this year with playing a lot of sophomores, so those guys aren't used to being in the program.
Yeah, I think as a head coach, it's your responsibility to really have an identity and blueprint in general of your football team. But then after that, the players you use and the formations and the plays that you call, I mean, that may differ a little bit from year to year based on your players. But then there's some other general things that you have to be able to count on. I can count on that Noblesville's going to play smart football. They don't get a lot of penalties. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't, just give the ball away usually, because their coach emphasizes that. I can count on that they're going to play aggressive defense because they're physical and aggressive at the point of attack, especially in the box, because I think that's important to them. So even when you get new players or you get young players or move-ins or anything, I think you're going to get what you emphasize. And so you have to emphasize what you deem as the right things, and you'll probably get them. Now, the way it looks may look a little bit different from year to year based on your players. This year, Noblesville's a little more 3-4, whereas they've been a 3-3 stack. Well, maybe they feel like that's the best fit for them. I think you got to be willing to change a little bit in that. But the overall identity of what you value most never changes.
Well, Coach, great interview today, and we will be here at Westfield on Friday night to broadcast that game, Hamilton County TV, and we've been getting great numbers and everything of people watching our high school football, so we feel that it's something that the public wants, and we appreciate being able to do it. And we also appreciate these Hamilton County coaches for taking time out in their busy schedule to do these interviews to let the public out there know what's going on in high school football. So thanks a lot, Coach. And
thanks for all the coverage that you give to Hamilton County football.
Thank you. Well, welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm Perry Williams, and as you can see alongside of me is Jason Simmons, the head football coach at Noblesville. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Great, Perry. I appreciate you having us on and taking the time on the holiday week to come out to Noblesville.
No problem. No problem. I mean, you may hear a little noise out here outside there, but
change your venue for us.
Yeah, we did a little bit different. We're in the conference room here, which I think is probably one of the best weight rooms in high school football or high school sports is right outside here. So it's a good atmosphere, and the kids are very, very blessed to have what they have in facility-wise here.
Yeah, no question. When you think about the commitment that the Noblesville schools made to this facility years ago, it's a huge commitment, and it gives our student athletes a great opportunity to work and to grow and to compete and to get better in an environment that's second to none at the high school level. And for having Brian Clark in this facility every day and Jeremy Raymer in this facility every day truly drives and pushes our kids to get better, and that's a big part of who we are at Noblesville football, but also Noblesville athletics, just continuing to try and build and grow young student athletes.
Yeah, and with the upgrade of the new turf at Hare Chevrolet Field, that's a big deal, and it's nice. It looks good, shows well. The place is nice and clean, thanks to the parents and the football players and new coaches for getting out there before the season and doing that.
Yeah, we have a tremendous amount of community support. Even sitting here as frustrated as we are right now at 0-3, we still have people that are proud supporters of Noblesville football. And when you think about all the things that our parents and our players have done this offseason, leading into the season, it's truly a prideful program right now. We just need some of that confidence to transfer over onto the football field for us right now.
Well, Coach, no use beating around the bush. We're sitting right now 0-3.
Yeah.
In the season, you've played some good football teams. I will have to say that. Lawrence North, Coach Bauer's done a great job down there in bringing that school in he's in year 4 probably?
Year 4, year 5.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Of course, then you went to Carmel and the Greyhounds, defending state champions, and that mix is going to be tough, Coach. Top to bottom, that's a tough conference.
It'll be fun to read about every Saturday.
Yeah,
when you look at how competitive that conference is, and with both Lawrence Township schools doing really well right now, with Carmel, with Center Grove, with Ben Davis, with Warren, there's not a week off. And Coach O'Shea's done a nice job at North Central. We saw those guys in the scrimmage. Their program's in a better place right now. And Pike got out of the gate. They beat a good Fishers team pretty soundly at their place week 2. Saw that game on film, and they struggled a little bit with Ben Davis, but I don't think they're going to be the only team that struggles with BD this year.
Right, and the conversation we had about the Fishers game before, what we saw Fishers play against Pike, you and I's first comment was, wow, that's not the way Fishers plays football. And we knew that.
Yeah, no question.
So you knew going in last week that was not going to be what you see against a Rick Winter football.
Yeah, no question. You and I both shared that same sentiment watching that Pike Fishers game. It's like, this is not a Coach Wimmer team. And I told our kids last week, I thought the hungrier, more desperate football team was going to come out on top on Friday. And I felt like their kids showed up and played with a lot more confidence than ours did. When you're trying to build this thing, which we're trying to do, we need to find a way to get our kids to play with confidence without having success. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do, especially with teenagers in this day and age. They grow up with smartphones and they can play whatever role they want to play on social media, on the internet, on any of that. And so getting our kids to believe in themselves, play with confidence, that right now is our biggest challenge. And until they have some success, it's going to continue to be something we have to work on as a coaching staff. We have good football players. We have good football players up and down our roster. We have kids that have played well each and every week. We have kids that have gotten better through the first 3 weeks of the season against really good competition, like you mentioned. And we just got to continue to build them and grow them. This thing isn't going to happen overnight. You look up and down our schedule, and there's not one game where you can look at it and say, we're going to get that first one there. It doesn't exist right now. And so for us, staying in the moment, working as hard as we can, preparing as hard as we can, is what's going to drive our level of success for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing about it, in looking at, like you said, I mean, we're starting to go into Hoosier Crossroad Conference here, and it's a tough, brutal schedule coming along because, even our next opponent, Westfield, they played Zionsville last week, which we got coming up here in our homecoming. I mean, that shows you the kind of competition we have in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference is we're playing Zionsville for homecoming.
No question.
And they're a great football team, and they got a great quarterback and some receivers. So that's a good football team. So there's not, it's not going to be an easy task. This week is Westfield. Jake Gilbert in his 7th season. It's hard to believe Jake Gilbert's been at Westfield
for 7 years.
Going into his 7th season, but he's got that program rolling in the right direction, and conversations with him. It's not always been that way at Westfield either. Okay,
yeah.
I mean, those first 2 or 3 years he struggled. So you just have to build it piece by piece.
Yeah, no question. When you look at when you turn the film on and watch Coach Gilbert's team play, they are so fun to watch. They're physical, they're aggressive. He has those kids playing from start to finish, from the time that ball snapped through the whistle. Those kids play really hard. It's fun to watch. I'll be honest with you. If we followed them in the HCC, I would take it. If I could turn those guys on and watch them every week, they're fun to watch. Those kids believe in what they're doing. They're extremely aggressive and on both sides of the ball, and so we have our hands full for sure. It's one of those things we just have to continue to coach our kids, because we have to grow them as people, whether they're seniors, whether they're juniors, whether they're sophomores. They're in our program. They're making a commitment to our program. We need to continue to give them the best we have to prepare them to be successful each and every week, and then when they leave our program as well. And so, we certainly have our hands full this week. We're going to go play an aggressive downhill team at their place, and we're going to be prepared. We're going to take the field, and we're going to go attack it.
Because the one thing about it is with Westfield football, and I always call it, when I talk to Coach Gilbert, I call it Jake Gilbert football. They're always going to be very, very sound defensively.
Oh, they're sound in all 3 phases of the game.
And they're going to be very sound defensively at the top. They're always going to have a good offensively. They're always going to have a good balanced running passing game. And the one thing about it now, I mean, you talk about programs and wanting to be a part of it. Here is Mr. Nance, their quarterback this season, okay? He's a senior.
Right.
Hasn't seen much action, okay? But it's his time to shine when he's a senior. And I know that you've watched all 3 games, and he just continues to get better. And the great thing he does is he makes very good decisions.
He makes very good decisions, but you watch him, and I can appreciate his ability to extend plays, whether it's in the run game with the option, whether it's in the passing game with his ability to escape pressure and extend plays. he really does a nice job of executing their offense, what they need him to do and what they want him to do. But then his moxie takes over. He can extend plays. You can tell he's got leadership qualities that kids want to follow because they go get him out of piles. You know, they believe in their guy. He's fun to watch. You know, he's not probably going to hit all the measurables. He's not going to pass the eye test, but the kid makes plays. He plays with a lot of moxie, and he's a play extender. And so we have to make sure that not only do we have to go defend the run game because of their tailback, who is a special kid, but we also have to account for him in the passing game as well.
Because you know, in watching video, talking about their tailback, Freilich, he'll kind of lull you to sleep. I mean, they'll pound 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards.
I don't know if that's just lulling us to sleep.
Yeah, but I mean, and then he'll pop one, or they'll throw it, or Nance now can throw a good pass to Beam and DePepio. So
they don't mind.
They got a lot of weapons. Yeah, they got a lot of weapons.
Pounding away with Freilich. He is a big back that we saw a year ago, and he does. He wears on you because he's okay with a 3-yard gain. He's okay with another 3-yard gain because he knows at some point he's going to break a tackle and get 8. He's going to get 12. He's going to get 15. And their offensive line does such a good job of getting on defenders and finishing plays. And so you look at their team from A to Z. There's not a lot of holes. They play extremely hard. They finish plays. They believe in what they're doing. They play with a great deal of confidence. And so we're going to have to match that on Friday.
And of course, when I said one day to Coach Gilbert about Hauser, their linebacker, I said, he leads your team in tackles. And he says he'll lead our team in tackles in every game. You don't have to worry about that. He's just a good fundamental football player, the same way with Caldwell. I mean, those are both, one's a senior, one's a junior, same way. They're going to give you. And when you look at their stats, last week Hauser had 10 tackles and he has 30 for the year. Okay?
Yeah.
Caldwell has 27 tackles and he had 9 in that game. I mean, they're just steady.
They are steady. You can tell they built their scheme around Hauser just because they do so much with him. And he's a dynamic enough player that you do that with football players like that. Whether it's pressure from the free safety spot, whether it's an outside back, or whether it's a strong safety, he's going to be a little bit of all over the place. Even going back to last year's game, he didn't play a bunch of true, free safety in the middle of the field roamer type of scheme with him. He played him down close to the line of scrimmage because of who we were, because of our offensive identity, and so they're going to put him in positions to use his skill set, and that's just an example of how well coached those kids are from top to bottom.
Absolutely, and of course, probably they had one of the better kickers in the state last year, and so you come out this year.
You turn the film on, you think the same.
Yeah, you think, and this Bales kid is out there, and on kickoffs he's putting them in the end zone every time, and he kick field goal. I mean, he punts, he does it all. So you're right. Every facet of the football game, they're well coached and they play well.
No question. No question. They're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Millers on what Noblesville's got to do, both offensively and defensively.
I think offensively we have to establish an identity of who we really are. We've had a lot of moving pieces, some revolving doors on certain positions, and I think in some ways we're still trying to find ourselves. You start to second guess and question a lot when you go 8 quarters without scoring. So obviously that we got to get over that. We have to establish who we are. In order to do that, we have to do a better job run blocking, for one. For two, I think there's 3 key areas for us offensively that we're concentrating on: our ability to get off the ball and sustain blocks up front in the run game, playing hard. It sounds kind of foolish. I don't know that our kids are close to giving maximum effort every time the ball's snapped, and we have to do a better job of that. And our ability to take care of the football while making good decisions is something that has paralyzed us a little bit. Obviously on Friday against Fishers, it was frustrating. We had by the numbers, we had 8 completions, we had 8 drops, we had 4 mishandled snaps, and we had 4 turnovers. We're not going to beat anybody on our schedule with those numbers offensively. So, our focus, our attention to detail has to be leaps and bounds better if we're going to be competitive with our schedule down the stretch here.
And one thing, let's switch over a little bit to that defense. And one of the comments I'll make on this is, even though we've lost 3 football games, our defense has played pretty well the first half. I mean, are they wearing down, Coach? You know, with the lack of offense and offense being on the field.
I think we played better in the second half against Fishers than we did in the first half. We made some adjustments, got some things cleaned up schematically. Yeah, I think with our defense right now, it's been really a tale of 3 games. You know, Lawrence North, we played really well in the first half, got worn down because we were without some depth guys up front, and that wore on us in the run game. They got to our second level guys a bunch and started to wear those guys down, and we missed some tackles, and their speed took over. The Carmel game, I felt like our kids were just taking too many snaps. And you look at where some of our turnovers happened, and you look at their big plays, you know, as you can attest those to us not being real physical on the perimeter. 2 of those big plays. But, you know, we gave them a short field with the turnover in the third quarter. They went down, scored. You know, when you look at our yards given up has gone down every week, and I think that speaks to us getting better defensively, competing. But we're taking too many snaps on the defensive side of the ball because we can't grind out first downs offensively. But 2, you know, I think we're starting to get a better feel for who we are defensively, and some of that, minimizing some of those big plays. Our secondary is continuing to learn, grow, get better, get more Friday night snaps. You know, we came in feeling really good about them, and had some experienced guys coming back. We've played quite a bit without those experienced guys, and so we got guys that are wet behind the ears that have taken coaching well, that are competing. They're just, you know, their Friday night flight hours just aren't there yet, and so you know, we have to continue to coach those guys, and you know, they are who they are, and they are our guys, and so we need to make sure that we put them in the best possible position to be successful on Fridays. We've done that, and now they're going to continue to grow with those Friday night game reps.
Absolutely, and of course, your linebackers have played pretty well.
Yeah, when you look across the board, you know, Austin Bridenthal is a young man that we had really high hopes for coming into the season. He's gotten progressively better through the first 3 weeks. Mason Battle has been a huge surprise for our program. Mason did not play as a sophomore. Started up with us this offseason in the weight room. We saw some flashes of his athletic ability and his ranginess. He was really intriguing to us. Had a great summer of work. Has competed really hard. You know, Mason, the best part about Mason is he's embracing the opportunity to play football every single day. He's a lot of fun to be around. You know, to see his growth as a person, as a football player over the last 12 months has been a lot of fun. And he's played his rear end off. You know, that kid's going to give you everything he has in the tank because he loves the opportunity to go play ball, and that's been really exciting. You know, and getting Dalton back has been huge for our defensive line. I think it's helped our linebackers. He was such a difference maker on Friday. You can look at the score and say, well, you got beat 29-0. Obviously, defensively, he did some things that weren't great, but you look at what the impact he had on Fisher's run game Friday night.
Big time.
Whether he was matched up with Martin, the Ball State commit, or whether he was matched up on somebody else. Dalton had an impact on that run game, and so we need him to continue to challenge himself and grow himself, but also his position group. You know, bring that position group along so we can continue to get better there too.
And it's going to take him a little bit to get back in the flow of things. And I think he was pretty good on Friday night. I know in the Carmel game, you know, that was his first game back, and he was gassed.
Yeah, he was gassed, and I felt like we had to give him more breaks as that game went on against Carmel. But I think at Fishers, you know, he resisted coming out a couple of times. It's like, gotta let him ride at that point. And so, you know, we didn't see a steep drop off in his level of play, you know, as his snaps piled up, and so that's certainly encouraging.
You know, and the one thing about it with Dalton, he has a very high football IQ.
Yeah, he's got a really high football IQ. Yeah, he's got a really high football IQ, and you know, we're able to capitalize on that. You know, I think his football IQ has grown and developed having Coach Adam Morris here. Coming over, you know, he played. You know, he was a Division I defensive lineman, and he's brought some kind of tricks of the trade, you know, to Dalton that has enhanced his game that much more.
He's growing in size every year. You just like to see that big lineman. Gets a little thicker and everything. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time out. I know you're getting ready to go to practice here and everything. Wish you the best of luck this week. We'll be at Westfield, Hamilton County TV, and we'll be broadcasting the game. It'll be Craig Atkins and Brad Silbert will be on the call for that game, and we're excited about broadcasting it. And it's going to be a good football game.
We're going to load up and go give it a shot.
It's going to be a good football game, and the game is all about adjustments, and hopefully both teams are ready to meet the challenge, and both are great coaching staffs. I know in talking to Coach Gilbert, he had a lot of respect for what Adam Metzler does on the defensive side for us. So, and he's always kind of tricky on some of the things that he does out there scheme-wise, because it's not easy for guys like you every week, because you've been coaching with and been around the Jake Gilberts, the Scott Mays, the Rick Wimmer, so you have to do some disguising there.
You certainly have to coach in this competition.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have our hands full Friday. We're gonna embrace the opportunity, and we're gonna take a group over there that's ready to go compete and certainly take a shot at it.
Sounds good. Well, we'll see you Friday night, 7 o'clock at Riverview Health Stadium at Westfield. Goodbye.